We are hanging together on a Wednesday morning, getting our baseball fix together. Good morning to you on MLB Central. Robert Flores, Mark DeRosa. I'm Lauren Shadi. Good morning, gentlemen. How was yesterday?
I mean, it was kind of like the day before yesterday, and then the day before that.
Same.
Robert, we played Quiplash yesterday.
That's right.
Quiplash.
I like that. That was fun. It maybe, I'm not sure. There's some trade secrets here, but maybe like a little fun online game show game that they're testing out. That was really fun. I like that.
You look extra moisturized, Roflo. What's your secret? Your beauty?
Well, Lauren, I'm glad you bring it up. I did get a new moisturizer for the daily regimen, so that was very.
DeRo, his skin is perfect, is it not?
It is. It's disgusting. He doesn't have a callus on his hands.
Oh, that is true. Yes.
What did you do yesterday, DeRo?
I actually had a pretty awesome day. After taking down Roflo and Quiplash, I had a huge video call with the 2008 Chicago Cubs. Got a chance to talk to some guys I hadn't talked to in a long time. I mean, Giovanni Soto was on there, Kerry Wood, Dempey was on there, Ryan Terrio. I mean, the list goes on. There was so many guys. Reed Johnson. That was pretty cool to connect with those guys.
Who changed the most?
You know what? It's funny. It wasn't that anyone had really changed the most. A lot of guys really, they're aging nice. I got to give them credit. It's funny. Just the conversations are completely different. We're talking about our kids, where we're living now, just like trying to catch up on just actual life. I mean, when we were together, these were all babies in the family room, and now all these kids have grown up and they're in high school and stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Hey, well, this week marks the 10th anniversary, if you will, of Armando Galarraga's near perfect game. That was 10 years ago this week. Jim Joyce, of course, with the unfortunate blown call there at first base. DeRo, do you have any thoughts on? I saw some chatter online that Major League Baseball should reverse it or should have reversed it, and then that should be counted as a perfect game.
I agree. I mean, why not go back and do the right thing? I mean, it's clear as day. If guys out, we have instant replay now. It's a no-brainer for me to go back. It doesn't hurt anybody to go back and give Armando Galarraga the perfect game. The one thing I'll say, though, as I watch that clip over and over again, and you'll hear a lot of guys who played in the big league say this, Jim Joyce was the last umpire you wanted to see. You don't want to see this happen to anybody, but he was so personable. He was so likable. He had a father quality out there. I remember digging in my first at bat at Fenway Park back in like 99, 2000. And he's actually engaging me. He's like, hey, I heard you went to the University of Pennsylvania. Is that true? I'm like, yeah, Jim. In the middle, like as the pitch is being thrown. And ever since then, it was like kind of just this relationship was born. And he got to know the guys really trusted him and liked. When Jim Joyce was on the rotation on the field that day, the guys knew the game was going to be called right. So it hurt my heart that he had to go through that. But he handled it so graciously.
You're the 27th batter of a perfect game. What do you want to do?
I mean, you want to be a part of history. I mean, I'd love to go deep and totally put the kibosh on everything. But, I was a part of Randy Johnson's perfect game, Lauren, and we kind of all sat there in awe of how awesome he was that night.
Sure.
So I know you're on the bad end of history, but it was pretty cool to watch.
Yeah, history nonetheless. So we all agree that call should have been overturned. That's not the only call in Major League history that we think should be the case. DeRo, what stands out in your mind as one call that should have been overturned?
Lauren, it's funny. First off, the 2014 NFC divisional game, Des Bryant from the Cowboys still caught that ball in Green Bay. I'll go to my grave saying that one shocks me to no end. But if we're talking baseball, there's a couple calls that stick out in my head. I wrote a few down. The infield fly rule with the Atlanta Braves and the St. Louis Cardinals with Sam Holbrook. God, one game to play with your playoff life on the line. That was a tough call to make. Again, Atlanta Braves, 1997 NLCS. Eric Gregg behind the dish in Florida, just roping dudes on pitches a foot outside. That changed the whole complexion. So those are a couple that come to my mind. But Des Bryant, yeah, that was a catch for an NFC championship.
Robert, you?
1985, Don Deckinger missing the call at first base in Game 6 of the World Series between the Cardinals and the Royals. It was, I mean, that was another call that was clearly erroneous. And then the carryover effect that call had, because the Royals win Game 6, and then Joaquin Andujar is on the mound for the Cardinals in Game 7 at Kauffman Stadium, and Andujar just has a meltdown. He gets thrown out. Whitey Herzog gets thrown out, and all of it is traced back to that blown call in Game 6 there between the Royals and the Cardinals. So that's the one for me.
Nobody mentioned Jeffrey Mayer. 96 ALCS, Derek Jeter at the plate, a 12-year-old reaches over the wall. I remember the interview post-game. It was with NBC Sports. And, you're 12 years old. Jeffrey's like, I can't believe this happened to me, grinning ear to ear. Like, every other fan in the history has such a different recollection, less enthusiastic of that play for sure. But those are just a few. If you guys at home have any suggestions, tweet us at MLB Network. By the way, talking about anniversaries, yesterday, the 10th anniversary of Ken Griffey Jr.'s retirement, the first overall pick in '87. DeRo, always when we talk about superstars of the game, what do you say? You say, Shahad, there are some people that are just blessed by the gods. And I feel like Ken Griffey Jr. falls into that category.
Yeah, and look, 100%. I mean, I won top 5 prettiest swings that the game's ever seen. For me, he kind of is an icon in the game because he kind of ushered in that hat backwards. I'm going to have a little bit more swag, get a little bit more, kind of put myself out there. I wrote down 3 things when I knew we were going to talk about this. One was the sweetest swing. I mean, everything was flawless. He could drop absolute bombs opposite field on a heater down and away without even breaking a sweat. That was 1. 2 was the swag. And 3, go back and watch him play center field. I mean, some of the best catches you've ever seen. I was looking at highlights last night, climbing a wall at Yankee Stadium. So he did everything, start to finish. Just an icon of the sport. He changed it off the field as well as on it.
Oh, I love that. Was there a moment in time, Robert, that sticks out for you?
Well, that picture that we're showing right now, that is from him robbing a homer in Old Tiger Stadium in 1998 against Luis Gonzalez. And I don't think it's a play that we think of. It's not among the first that we think of when we think of Ken Griffey Jr.'s defensive prowess. I mean, we think about him making that catch at the Kingdome where he ends up breaking his wrist. Or I think it was a play at Old Yankee Stadium where he's climbing the wall. But this one, I mean, go back and look at it on YouTube. Griffey himself wrote about it in the Players Tribune that was the best play he ever made, according to him. So that, for me, I think is just an unbelievable play. And you're right, the way he played defense out in center field, it was simply breathtaking.
And he was unfazed. Like, I watched a video back in '89, like when he was 20 years old. You talk about guys who are unfazed, like the Juan Sotos of the world when they step on a big league field for the first time. It was like a presence. He was 20 years old, a presence right away with that sweet swing, even 20 years at the beginning of his career.
Lauren, you look back at the highlights too. I mean, the homers speak for themselves, but Roflo talked about the defense. Who scored? Who went first to home in that huge game against the Yankees in the playoffs when Edgar Martinez hit the bullet off Blackjack McDowell? That's him going first to home. I mean, he flew around the bases. He was one of those guys. There's like 4 or 5 guys in the history of the game that ever got on second base that I was like, oh, like.
Wait, who else? Well, who are the others?
You got Ripken Jr. Cal Ripken was like, whoa, oh my God, I can't believe I'm playing against this guy. Barry Bonds was by far the best player I ever saw in my life. I mean, he'd get on second, and you weren't playing against him. You were kind of like a fan that got to stand on the field next to him. Mark McGwire when you got on first, and like Griffey. These were like, whoa, above the fray.
I love it. First overall pick with the draft coming up, appropriate to celebrate him. The draft, of course, on MLB Network coming up. MLB Central, we will see you on Friday. Have a wonderful day. Take care.